Hello and welcome to my guide to gearing up in patch 6.2. This video is going to get you up to item level 700 as quickly as possible, covering all of the relevant gearing methods in this patch. I'm going to go over all of the stuff in detail, and then at the very end of the video I'll give you a quick rundown of all the easy steps that you need to do. There is a lot more to 6.2 gearing than Tanaan Jungle, but it is pretty much the ideal place to start. So first of all, what you want to do is get a level 3 garrison. Then there will be a series of quests which will lead you into Tanaan Jungle. Once you're into Tanaan, just do all the starter quests until you get the opportunity to start an Apexis daily. Once that's done, you've pretty much unlocked the full jungle. Now Tanaan has got lots of gear. You get item level 655 bits of kind of fixed gear from rare mobs and 650 bits of gear from treasures. There are also baleful gear tokens. Basically, whenever you click in one of these, it will make a loot spec appropriate piece of gear, which is quite nice. That's item level 650. Now, those bits of item level 650 baleful gear can actually be upgraded to 695 using an empowered Apexis fragment. These can be purchased from the Order of the Awakened NPC in your Tanaan base for 20,000 Apexis crystals. You'll also notice that you can purchase baleful tokens for 5k crystals or 10k for a weapon, but I don't recommend doing that because they drop so regularly from the mobs, so save up your crystals for the empowered fragments. Still, before you even worry about any of that or any Apexis crystals, all you want to do is go around the zone and pick up specific treasures that give you bits of gear that are useful to you. And this is a bit like how maybe at the start of WoD, you would have headed into Nagrand and killed some of the rares and picked up some of the treasures to get bits of handy starter gear. To help us with this, you're going to need an add-on called Handy Notes and a plugin for it called Handy Notes Draenor Treasures. Once 6.2 launches, it will actually update and display all of the rares and the treasures in Tanaan Jungle. Open your map and then search through the various icons on your map. Look for the treasures and, just the bits of gear that are good for your class, and then just go around and collect all of the useful ones. Doing this will very, very quickly increase your item level, which makes the actual quest content of Tanaan far less of a headache to do. Now, of course, if you're on a newbie character, then killing some of the rares will be pretty tricky. However, in your Tanaan Jungle base, there is an NPC who offers you a quick little quest to choose between the various garrison outpost abilities. Using these should allow nearly every character, even those at a very low item level, to kill the rare mobs in order to get those specific bits of gear from them. So, in summary, the first thing you want to do is just go into Tanaan, then kill all the treasure, or collect all the treasures and kill the rares that drop gear that is relevant to your spec. That'll get you going pretty quickly. Once that's done, you'll have a significantly better gear level, and you'll be able to just do the main content of Tanaan in a quick and efficient manner. Simply put, just do all of the daily quests that are in the zone. This will net you, I think it's between 6,600 and 7,100 Apexis crystals per day. You'll also get loads of baleful gear tokens in the process. And as you will notice, those things drop they just drop like hotcakes, so there's really no point in purchasing them from the vendor. So do all your Tanaan Jungle daily stuff to get your crystals. In addition to that, you will probably want to explore other methods of getting crystals. I've got another video on this coming very, very soon, but in short, do work orders from your Mage Tower / Spirit Lodge, and then do your old patch 6.0 and 6.1 Apexis missions. You will want to spend all of your Apexis crystals on empowered Apexis fragments. These will upgrade those baleful bits of gear to item level 695. I recommend focusing on slots with high stat budgets, so that's like your head, your chest, your legs, your weapon, things like that. Before using an empowered Apexis fragment though, do look at the stats of the bit of gear you're going to use it on. You'll want to use your very limited supply of upgrade tokens on items that have got really good stats for your spec, so check out Icy Veins because they will actually give you stat weights. And also be sure to do the Garrison campaign, because you will get an empowered Apexis fragment at the end of it. And while you're in Tanaan, be sure to kill Supreme Lord Kazak once every week. He's the new world boss in this patch, and the gear that he drops is item level 705 on the PTR currently. He drops things for your back, neck, trinket, and wrist slots. So, doing all this stuff will get you a steady stream of 695 bits of gear, and will also get you decked out in item level 650 plus bits of gear very quickly. It's also worth noting that those baleful gear thingies can proc to item level 670, but that isn't too important overall as we're going to be upgrading them to 695 anyway. Still, it's a handy short-term boost which will hopefully get you into LFR a bit quicker. So, now that that's covered, you also want to be sure to do the Timewalker dungeon weekends if they are available. These are actually your best way to get to a half-decent item level super quickly. You can chain run these Timewalker dungeons in order to get an item level, well, just item level 660 bits of gear from the various bosses. It's absolutely worth doing, especially if you've done your Tanaan Jungle content for the day, and it's just a super quick way of getting gear. Be sure to check your calendar to know when Timewalking dungeon weekends are actually going to be on. There are more ways to get gear than Tanaan, of course, and the next easiest way to get it is probably Hellfire Citadel LFR. Warlords of Draenor's LFRs are pretty fast and they offer a very, very high item level for the effort required, which, let's face it, is pretty much zero. You will need item level 650 to actually enter the LFR for Hellfire Citadel, but the existing Tanaan stuff that I've covered in this video will get you up to that stage super quickly. If you are missing a particular slot of gear then, maybe be sure to check out the auction house for some crafted gear, as these days it's extremely cheap, but really you shouldn't have any problems getting into the LFR. In terms of the gear that LFR offers, well, you get 675 from the earlier wings and 685 from the later wings. Now, it is also possible to purchase the old Apex's gear from patch 6.0 with gold, though it really is not very good value at all. The level 1 stuff is item level 630 and it costs 1k, the level 2 stuff costs 5k each, the level 3 stuff costs 10k each, and the level 4 stuff is a whopping 20k for 675 gear. If you've got, like, more money than, I don't know, something with a lot of money, then sure, maybe it's worth doing that, but for most people, probably not. While we are on the topic of spending money though, it's worth noting that there is some new crafted gear in patch 6.2. There are 2 new levels. The level 5 crafted gear is 690 for the weapons and then 700 for the armor, and the level 6 gear is 705 for the weapons and 715 for the armor. This will be extremely expensive near the start of the patch though, so you're probably fine just sticking to the item level 695 Apex's stuff from Tanaan Jungle. As far as purchasing gear goes, you can of course look for BOE bits of gear on the AH. Any BOEs from Hellfire Citadel will likely be super expensive near the start of the patch, but if you've got the cash to burn, then sure, it's probably an option. Another extremely fast and effective way of getting gear is Mythic dungeons. These drop item level 680 gear, it might be 685 for most of the bosses, but as an added bonus, the end bosses drop, I believe, either 700 or 705 gear. These dungeons are in a weekly lockout, which means that you can only get loot from each boss once per week, and they also require a pre-made group. If you are in a guild, then of course this will be easy enough, though you can always try your luck with the game's built-in pre-made group finder tool. On the PTR, these dungeons were easy enough with 660 gear, so that seems like a decent item level to start doing these with. Speaking of dungeons, it's worth mentioning the Draenor dungeon event. Check out your in-game calendar to see when this is active, but during this, you will basically get a Hellfire Citadel heroic cache, which contains, I think it's like 720-ish gear, whatever, and 1 bit of gear. You'll get one of those for completing 2 mythic dungeons during one of these bonus dungeon weekend things. I would expect that pugging the mythic dungeons will be super easy during this event, as everyone's going to be chasing that easy raid gear. But absolutely, that's a free bit of raid gear available every few weekends, so be sure you do that. The Shipyard also gives you gear. First of all, some missions will drop baleful gear tokens that are account-wide, so you can send them off to your alts. This is a good reason to have multiple shipyards if you're serious about just getting loads and loads of alts geared up. The Shipyard also offers a bunch of missions that drop Apex's crystals, which of course will allow you to get your empowered upgrade fragment thingies. Oh, and on that topic, there are high item level follower missions from the garrison that drop Apex's crystals as well, so it's worth keeping up on your garrison. The Shipyard has raid missions as well, but unlike 6.0, it doesn't look like they drop items that are above your own raiding level, so for an example, if you raid normals, they will actually give you bits of normal gear, but still, it's definitely worth doing those Shipyard missions and staying on top of the Shipyard. PvP also deserves a mention in this video, because PvP gear is still quite useful in PvE. The patch 6.2 honor gear will be item level 670 when in PvE combat. So for some, farming up honor will be quite a viable way to fill in a gear spot. It's usually very quick to earn enough honor to get 1 or 2 bits of gear anyway, and what's handy about PvP gear is you can choose exactly what slot you want to fill, so if you've got that one crappy item level 580 bit of gear that you just can't replace, maybe doing a bit of PvP will be a good way to do that. The Conquest gear is item level 700 in PvP, so if you've got a group of players to knock out a few arenas with, this will be a very fast way of getting some decent gear, or at least getting maybe 1 piece a week. You can also get Champion Strongboxes, which contain a bit of offset item level 700 PvP gear. The first one of these is for completing the new Ashran weekly quests, so if you can stand doing Ashran, then this is 1 bit of level 700 gear per week, which I guess is kind of nice, and you can get your second Strongbox by doing 3 RBGs in a week and winning them, but that's going to require a little bit more coordination. Finally, there are Battleground and Arena Skirmish bonus weekends. During these, you get triple honor points for doing your battlegrounds and skirmishes, so that's a pretty good way of getting 670 honor gear. And also during these weekends, winning several battlegrounds or arenas will grant you 500 conquest points, which will help you get some of that conquest gear. Yeah, look, PvP stuff isn't the fastest way to get a high item level, but that conquest gear is level 700, and that is higher than most of the stuff that you can get without stepping into a raid, so it's totally worth doing. Once all this stuff has been done, you're pretty much going to be good to raid in Hellfire Citadel, as that's where most of, well, pretty much all, of the over item level 700 gear actually drops from. So in summary, go to Tanaan Jungle, kill the rares, and then pick up the treasures to get loads and loads of item level 650 and 655 bits of gear on your very first day of patch 6.2. Then, if it's a Timewalker dungeon bonus weekend, do your Timewalker dungeons because they will give you 660 bits of gear and you can chain run them to pretty much deck out a character in 660 gear. Then you always want to do your Tanaan dailies to get around 7,100 Apexis crystals per day. Then do your old Apexis missions and missives from patch 6.0 and 6.1, do your Garrison Follower missions and also your Shipyard missions for even more Apexis crystals. Also, do your Spirit Tower / Mage Tower work orders to get more Apexis. Then use all of those crystals to purchase Empowered Apexis Fragments and then upgrade your Baleful bits of gear that you get from your Baleful tokens to item level 695. Then you want to do Hellfire Citadel LFR, and you also want to do Mythic Dungeons. They are both things that are totally worth doing and will get you lots of fast bits of gear that are very good. If you want to do PvP, then you can if you are in need of some quick item level 670 honor gear, or slightly slower but very powerful item level 700 conquest gear. Doing all of this stuff will get you in a hybrid of 695 and 700 gear, which pretty much means you will be ready for raiding for, I'd say at least, definitely normal and probably the entry-level heroic stuff from the new raid. It will likely take a good bit of time to be fully decked out in item level 695 and 700 stuff, but certainly within the first week you will see a massive increase in your item level, to the point where you could nearly definitely start on some of the normal mode raiding stuff in this patch. Anyway, that has been it for the video. This is pretty much the best way to get geared up super quick in this patch. I hope you found it useful, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.